Welcome to this new lesson of the AutoCAD Plan 3D course. Today, we're going to learn how to set up a project. To set up a project, we have to create a new one. So instead of opening the project tool we created in our previous lesson, we're going to create a new one. Okay, the first thing we're going to do to set up a project is follow the project setup wizard, which has 6 pages. The first page, we have to specify general settings, such as the name. I'm going to call it just Project 3. An optional description, and this description is going to appear in our paper layout. So try to keep it brief. For example, we are going to call it, I don't know, PNID or section 1 PNID. Okay? Then I can specify the folder where I want the document to be stored. In this case, I'm using the documents folder. And well, if I want to copy settings from an existing project, I can activate this and select where is this existing project. Projects are an XML file, and this XML file is the one that contains all the information, all the settings, all the characteristics and specifications of our project. Okay, so after setting the name and the description, we click next, and then we have to specify the unit settings. And be aware that when specifying the unit, you're going to limit the options you can choose from in the following page. Let's see that in more in detail. For example, if I select imperial units, it means that all units-based properties are reported in inches. Okay, if I click next, this means that I can only select from 2 standards, 2 PNID symbology standards, PAP and ISA. Okay, and it says all symbols will be drawn in inches. Okay, but if we go backwards and we select metric here, in metric we have 2 options. Evidently, most unit basis properties are reported in millimeters. Most, look here, it says all, here it says most. But the nominal diameters of imperial content, you can decide if you want it in millimeters or in inches. It means that you will have everything in millimeters or everything in millimeters or except the nominal diameters of piping. Okay, so if I select metric and millimeters, now I can choose between PIP, ISO, DIN, and GIS ISO. Okay, and it says all symbols will be drawn in millimeters, and if I select the mixed metric, I'll have the same symbology. I'm going to work, as I want to work with the ISA, look that if I choose metric units, I don't have the option to use ISA. So I'm going to choose imperial, and then I'm going to select ISA. And why ISA? Well, it's the most used, the most common symbology standard used in industry to draw PNIDs for oil and gas, for water, for foods, for pharmaceutics. So I'm going to use ISA. And this constrains my options, and I am obliged to select imperial units. Okay. Also, I can select what folder I want the PNIDs to be saved in. In this case, it's just a default folder. Remember, in documents, I have the project tree, and within the project tree, AutoCAD will create a folder called PID DWG. DWG is the extension of any AutoCAD drawing. Okay, so we click next. Here we can also specify more folders. For example, the 3D models, the spec sheets directory, the orthographic, and any other related files such as spreadsheets or Word documents that can be generated through AutoCAD. I can change these names or select other folders, etc. if I don't want it to have it ordered like it is by default. Then I can use the configuration of a single user. It means I am the only one who's going to draw this, or even 1 to 2 people. This project doesn't need to be shared with a lot of people working in it at the same time. So it's just a project I can draw, send it to my manager, and he will approve it, and send it to his manager, and he may make comments, and they send it back to me, and I can change it. It's a single user function. But if you are a team of engineers, or a team of drawers, or architects, or any technician who are working in this project at the same time, it would be better to select the multi-user SQL server database. It says here which is recommended, because it will allow several team members to participate. And well, you will have to select the name for the SQL server and specify all the characteristics you are being required here. Well, as you can see, it sometimes take some time, and well, we'll have to wait for that. In this case, I have never used the SQL server name in this computer, therefore I have no server name to select. So we're going to set this project up as a single user. We're going to click next. Okay. Well, in the final page, it says the wizard has collected enough information to create your project. Click Finish to close the wizard and generate the project. And you have one option: edit additional project settings after creating project. This will allow me to modify something that perhaps I am not aware of at this moment, but as I am drawing, as I am going forward the project, I realize that I have to change something. So it's always a good thing to select this box that will allow me to edit additional project settings afterwards. So then I click Finish, and my project is going to be generated. This may take a few seconds as well, but after it is completed, I will have the standard window, the standard interface we knew in the last lesson. Okay. Before that, as I asked or as I selected the option to be able to continue editing further information of the project after I generate it, I will have this window of project setup. And here I can add much more details of what I need or what I want in my project than the previous wizard. Okay. First thing is database setup. This is the same about the SQLite local database or SQL server database. We have decided that we are going to use the single user. Then I have drawing properties, and these can be customized. Okay. At this time, there are no customized drawing properties. So let's add one. For example, I can add the category name. For example, let's say, I don't know, customer. Okay. And in the category customer, I can add rows. Look at it here. I can add a first row, which is going to be, well, the name of the row. I want to be a name, for example, and the description. In this case, it will be, I don't know, electrical power energies. I don't know. I'm just making it up. So I have then a property of a drawing related to the customer, and the name of the customer is power energies, for example. I can add an additional one. I can call it the fiscal information number, for example. I can say the number is this one. Okay, and now I am giving my AutoCAD project information about the real project I'm going to perform. Okay, and I can add, as you can see here, different categories, and within each category, different properties. Okay, then I have file name format. In file name format, I can define a format which is going to be by default for everything I'm going to create. Okay, It's not very used, but let's see how it works. I can write add, I can click add, sorry, and well, I have to create a name, let's say project 3. I want it to be a string, okay, with a length of, I don't know, let's say 20 characters, and the delimiter, I want it to be the underscore, okay? So it will create projects called project 3 underscore and additional information identifying each document in case I have to create different documents, okay? And that's all. If I click add again, I will add another one, but I don't add another one. I'm fine just with this one at this moment. If you need more, you can add more as you want. Then you have paths. The paths are what we talked about, the folders in which documents are going to be saved. So you can change it if you want it here. Then you have project details. For example, the project name cannot be changed. I already defined it. I can change the project description. For example, if I wrote originally a very long project description, and when I am in the paper layout, I see that it doesn't fit my format, I can come here and say, hey, let's shorten the project description. As well, in the project number, let's say this is the first project, for example. Look here, this is an interesting utility. The work history prompts. Usually, when you're working in teams, it's important to have record or what was done by whom, when, okay? So if I left it here in never, I will have a document that's changing, but I'm not going to be able to identify when that change was done and by whom was done. But if I select this option, closing project drawings, it means that it will automatically prompt for work history when I close the project drawing. That is to say, when I close the project drawing, there will appear a window asking me what's up, basically. What's the status of the project, if it's in review, if it's in progress, if it was rejected, if it's the final version, etc. I can write some comments. For example, I draw the main distillation tower, with these and these pipes, etc. And I am the engineer, whoever I am, John Smith, okay? Or I can choose that in the opening project drawings, and I'm going to say, well, in this session, I'm going to draw this and this and that, okay? I prefer always reporting what I did rather than what I'm going to do because, well, no one is very accurate about forecasting the future. But this will help you to track who did what and when did he do it, okay? Well, here we have, again, different folders, and you have custom properties. This as well, you can add, delete, add rows, or delete rows. For example, you have the project data. You can have the address of the project. Let's say, I don't know, let's say I'm at the 53rd Northwest Lane in the city of Atlanta, in the state of, actually, I don't know in which state is Atlanta located, I'm sorry. So let's say it's in Denver, in the state of Colorado, okay? The postal code is whatever, I don't know. Telephone, project manager, project number, I can add all this information, okay? Well, the client information, I can write the company name and the primary contact. And I can also add different categories and additional data, okay? Which is going to be in the project details, not in the drawing properties. Look at the difference. These properties we created here are regarding to the drawing. These ones here are regarding the project, okay? Then I can select the group, the tool palette group association. So, for example, I chose that my project is in the ISA standard. So I can select the tool palette group to display when the project is opened in AutoCAD Plant PNID, sorry. In this case, the logic answer is to select ISA because my project is set to work with ISA. And I can also select a tool palette in the Plan 3D interface. So I can have piping components, 3D make, or well, basically that's all because the rest are 2D. Okay, so I'm going to select piping components. And well, there's Data Manager Interactive Zoom Factor. I can change it if I require it here, but I'm going to let it there. Then I have reports. What reports may I have? I can generate control valve lists, which are going to have DW number, name, tag of the valve, of the control valve, loop number, line number, service, size, specifications, installation thickness, description, manufacturer, failure, and PN/PID. I can modify it and I create new ones. I can create new ones. They have a document registry, which is, well, the revisions and everything done in every session. The equipment list with manufacturer, model number, supplier, equipment specification, etc. Instrument list, line summary lists, nozzle lists, specialty items list, valve list, and I can even create new reports. Okay. For example, I can create, let's say, I don't know, a flare list. If I'm working in a refinery and we have a lot of flares, let's say I want a flare list. I'm going to start with an equipment list. What does this mean? It means it's going to copy the equipment list and give it the name flare list. And I will be able to modify it afterwards. Okay, so let's say continue. And I can select here what fields I want to be in my flare list. So I want the equipment tag, equipment description, equipment manufacturer, model number, supplier, etc., and so on. And I'm going to create a flare list in this case. Okay, so you can create any report, project report you need, and you can modify also the ones you have here if it doesn't meet your requirement because it asks too much information or too little information. After you have the plan, share plan content, it basically will allow to share content, okay? And well, you can have here changing the content folder in case you need it to be shared with other members of your team, okay? So then you have the PNID settings. This is the 2D settings. You can select how end connections will look like. You can have it flashed, which is going to be represented like this. You can have it socket welded, and it's going to be represented like this. You can have it unspecified, and well, if you don't have it, and you can have it welded, okay? The most usual is to have it plunged, but it depends on the plan you are designing, okay? And even you can create a new one. For example, in unspecified, you can add a block or edit a block. We're going to learn what a block is in the further lessons. You have also line settings. When a line crosses upon other, you can select if you want it to be represented with a gap or with a loop. It's not going to change anything in the drawing except the visual representation of the line crossing. Also, there's a gap symbol that you can make manually. For example, this is a pipe that's going behind this tank, and well, in this case, you have only one option, the gap style. Okay. You have also a standoff distance. What's a standoff distance? It means what's the minimum length of piping you have to have before crossing your line. Okay. So this standoff X is this minimum distance, this mandatory distance in which I can't go in other angle that it's not horizontal, okay? So we set this to be in inches. So let's say I want this to be 10 inches, for example. And then I have, well, the grip settings in the pipes. Grip settings, let's look at this. This configuration is vertex grips off. I can select vertex and continuation grips on. And look at the difference. I don't have nothing to click on in this corner or in this corner in the vertex grips off. If I select vertex and continuation grips on, they're going to be these squares that I can click on and modify. And the vertex strip zone actually is not so different. What's the difference between these two? The ending points. Look at this. In the vertex strip zone, I have grips on vertex, but at the end, I have just a square. But in this continuation grip zone, I have this plus or this cross symbol. It allows me to continue to click it and continue drawing a pipe in this line, okay? Then we have export and import settings. You can also select all the information here, how you want to export and import information. The data manager configuration, also you can create views of how you're going to create the data at new levels, for example, of engineering items, of equipment, the tags, for example, okay? You can create that, so on, to have a data manager. Then you have P&ID class definitions, which are basically equipment. And let's see an example of, let's say, a furnace. Too much for, okay, let's take this one, the fire heater. So here, within these P&ID class definitions, you are going to find all the symbols of the equipment that's already uploaded in your project. There are going to be a lot that are not. For example, this film evaporator, there's some information that you don't have a symbol, for example. You can create it through add symbols. We're going to see this one, which is already created. And I have all the information regarding this fire here. Okay, the description, the manufacturer, model number, supplier, comments, the status, if it's new, if it's existing, if it's going to be demoed. And I have all this information: height, weight, length, insulation, duty, area, etc. Okay. I have also the annotation or the tag. How do I want the tag to be? Do I want it in this format or within an oval, or how looks the furnace info tag and the equipment tag? Okay. So I can do this in all these different equipment and engineering and non-engineering items. Okay. Then I have P&ID painter settings, and I can color different services and select a color that's going to identify them. For example, I have all these different, for example, wastewater is going to be red, and well, you may have stainless steel going to be magenta, or well, whatever meaning you want to assign. Natural gas is going to be magenta, and so on. Liquefied petroleum gas is going to be magenta. Also, liquefied natural gas or liquid natural gases, it's going to be cyan, etc. You can edit this, okay? Both the service and the color. Then you have the pipe specs in P&ID. So you can have it a standard project in which the P&ID pipe specification values have no connection to Plant 3D pipe specs. This means that whatever you draw in P&ID is not going to be connected to the 3D model. But it's more useful if you're going to design something in 2D and after create a 3D version. It's useful to select the spec-driven project. Why? Because it's going to connect all the information in your P&ID to the 3D model. Let's read what it says. It says, find out if P&ID piping is in spec or off spec, and get component information all from the same pipe specs that are used by Plant 3D. Okay, so both documents, both drawings, 3D model and P&ID will have the same specifications, and you can verify that, for example, the line 110 of your drawing has the same specifications than the line 110 in your 3D model. Okay. And well, you can have it here, the different lines you can connect. A jacketed pipe, a primary line segment existing, a primary line segment new, and so on. Okay. So then we arrived to Plant 3D DWG settings. These are going to govern over the 3D models. So you have again export and import settings. You have again data manager configuration. You have again layer and color settings. For example, you have different colors for different nominal diameters of the piping. You can change here different what's the characteristic upon which you're going to assign a layer, and how we are going to assign a color. In this case, by nominal diameter, you can change it, and so on. Okay. Then piping connection settings, and you have here each joint, each simple joint, how it's going to be the end one, the end two, if there are going to be any fasteners, if you require any match or optional matches, you can change all these in here, as well as compound joints. Okay. You can have also here the pipe bend settings, and well, you have here all the different nominal diameters, the radius, so the lengths, and you can treat bends as two different aspects. You can treat it as fittings, as it's an accessory attached to a pipe, or you can treat it as a pipe. And this basically will change the way you're going to manage and to move and to select and to add properties to your bends in this case. So it will depend in what version you feel more comfortable. I'm going to leave it as it is, treat bends as pipe, but it's me because I prefer treating as fittings, for example, valves, control valves, diameter reductions, and all that things, and consider that, well, a bend is just a part of a pipe. Okay. Then I have P&ID object mapping, the same thing we saw in the previous object. Here you have, for example, perhaps I selected one that's not very useful. But look, I'm in non-engineering items. In actuators, I have back pressure regulator self-contained. I can see what the 2D symbol is, and if there exists any Plan 3D class mapping. And if it doesn't and I require it, I can add one. Okay. So let's see in engineering items what if there is something. Let's select pump. Okay, so I have different pumps. Okay, and look, here I do have Plan 3D class mappings for this pump, for example. Okay, here I have the 2D symbol and the 3D mapping. Okay, and I can have here all the property mappings, right? So I can match the P&ID property with the Plan 3D property, sorry, if you require it. Then you have the Plan 3D class definitions. Remember, class definitions are well, the symbols and the characteristics of any part of equipment or drawing here. Let's see if we have here. I have some symbols. Okay, a heat exchanger. I have this symbol of a heat exchanger, and I have all the information of the heat exchanger that it's required, the property description, the default value if I want to change it, if you want it to be read-only, how do you want to be the equipment annotation in an orthographic drawing, etc. Okay, those are the 3D definitions. I can also use this specification update settings, how I'm going to update the specifications of all these, of fasteners, of couplings, of elbows, etc. And then we arrive to the isometric DW settings. Well, I have the symbols and reference. I can select the isometric symbology, okay? I can edit them, and I can have here the reference dimension default settings for every aspect, okay? For a building, for equipment, for floor level, for grid line, for a steel beam, for a steel column, for a pipeline, for a wall, for miscellaneous, okay? Then I have the ISO style setup, and I can change everything here, the file naming, the spools, the drawing format, then the ISO style default settings as well, the file format, the revision number, how I want to be data, recorded, and everything I can change here, the annotations, dimensions, themes, a slope and offset, piping, the title block and display, specifically for isometric drawings, and the well, if review, it's going to take some time because it's generating an ISO preview of something I not draw. Okay, and finally we have the orthographic DWG settings, which is basically the title block and display. So look, if I generate an isometric, the isometric will be drawn upon this format. But if I generate an orthographic, the orthographic is going to be generated on this format. So they are different, and it's important to acknowledge that before starting your project and before generating isometric or orthographics. And for orthographics, it is really important to define if I'm going to use the elbow center line cornered or curved. Well, it will depend on the standard, on the rules you're following to draw it, but you can select it here. Okay, so once you have completely set up your project here, you can then click on apply and click on OK. Okay, and you may say, well, what happened? Why did I came back to the home page? And no, we're not in the home page. We are actually in our project, the project tree. What happened? That in the project tree, there are no drawings. That's why I cannot see any working space. Okay, now look here, if I close, well, it looks like it only works if I have a drawing open. So let's open a drawing. I want to show you the work history control. Okay, as I selected that project to be the window of project history control to be open upon the closing of a drawing. Well, I have to, first of all, I have to open a drawing. I have a drawing, I have a project. I have to be aware of the differences between a project and a drawing. So let's give it some time. As it's thinking, it's processing that it's just closed and open again. Well, it looks like my internet isn't working. Okay, so let's create a drawing, a PNID drawing. Let's say, I don't know, drawing 1, PNID 1. Okay. Well, and now here, let's see what happened here in the format. Okay. Here it's empty. We have here this huge space for general notes. Okay. Down here we have this number of version, revision or issue, and date. We have here the drawing name. The drawing name is the, as I just called it, PNID 1. I can edit this information. We're going to see that in a following lesson. And here, look, project 3. What description did I give to the project 3? It's the section 1 PNID. Where is located the section 1 PNID? 53rd Northwest line of Denver, Colorado. It's the information I selected in the project setup, and it's by default showed here in the project name and address. Okay, then I can, if I had selected the area, the drawing number, and the author, it will appear here. Okay, anyway, I can draw something. Let's draw a line, the command line. Okay, I'm going to draw, I don't know, a series of lines here. I just want to show you that if I close, well, I can press Ctrl S to save. Okay, look at this. If I move something, okay, here appears an asterisk upon the name of this drawing. Okay, it means it's not saved. If I click Ctrl S to save it, the asterisk disappear. Okay, now I'm going to close it. I'm going to close, and here it is, the work history window. I have to assign a status to this drawing. Let's say it's in progress, or for review, revision 1 to 4, it's final, it's an archive where I can manage and create a new status, okay? Let's say it's in progress. In this case, I'm just created the drawing, okay? I did nothing in this drawing. I just created it. And it will say, well, the project, the file, the user, when did I begin editing and when did I end editing, okay? I click OK and it closes and I have that information. Well, so that was all this lesson about project setup. Let's see you in the following lesson of this AutoCAD Plan 3D course.